Hey everyone, hope you have a lovely day. Now, for the past couple of hours, I've been driving exclusively this IL-15 car, and I want to give my opinions on it, a couple of small advice just by driving this car, and all in all, some predictions. So, first of all, do I like this car? Yes. I think the role or the purpose of this car is quite clear in the current lineup of open wheels, and I think this car has its place. I'm not talking about oval racing, I'm talking about road racing. So, just from the get-go, I really like this car. I'm gonna tell you in a moment why. But this car is super particular. Like, you can brake really hard. You already see I brake close to 100% in that corner without the tires locking up, without touching the brake bias, because the speed that this car arrives at the end of the straight is quite huge. So you will have a lot of downforce when braking, and you need to take advantage of that. But when you're going into the corner, to the mid-corner phase, the downforce fades away. It feels like this car relies a lot more on mechanical grip when you're cornering, but when you're initially braking, like right now, you can see you can really be aggressive on the brakes and still make the corner just fine. So quite different than Super Formula Lights, quite different than F3. You can't really do these things in those cars. You can do it in SFL to some extent, but the likelihood of getting lockups is a lot higher. Of course, lockups will still happen here as well if you're braking way too late, but that's a completely different story. Another thing that I like about this car, and this comes very nicely tied with the initial braking, is that you can feel in the force feedback when the tire is about to lose slip under braking. Like, you feel like the nose getting downward and the car pitching forward. You can really get the feeling under braking, and I feel like Super Formula Lights was a bit disconnected in terms of feeling more like it's floating. This car feels a lot more connected with the tarmac. I don't think it's as connected as F3. I think F3 is the best open wheel currently in terms of how well you can feel the car just by driving it, but it's definitely better in my opinion than Super Formula Lights when it comes to feeling of losing the grip. Now, in terms of cornering, it really feels like we have a limitation with the front end. So what I've been experimenting with is lowering the brake bias from the default, which is 53.3 in most of the sets that we currently have, to 50.0. or 50.3. It's still stable under braking, so the car is not spinning under braking, but we manage the front tires a little bit more. And honestly, with this car, yes, you have a lot of downforce initially, but when the downforce fades away and you get to turn in the corner, the car feels really stiff. Like, the platform feels like it doesn't want to turn as much. So managing those front tires can be a good idea. Of course, we have to see with open setups, because there's a big likelihood that the car will feel quite substantially different with an open setup in terms of how responsive it is, in terms of how much it rotates, and so on. But for the moment, just lowering the brake bias feels very natural, and the car is still quite stable under initial braking. Now, how fast is this car compared with Super Formula Lights F3 and F4? Where, first of all, it's a night-day difference compared with F4. It's much faster, more than 10 seconds faster on any track. Compared with Super Formula Lights, I tested it on this track, on Spa, and on Okayama, and for this track, it was close to 4 seconds faster than Super Formula Lights, which makes sense because we have big straights on this track. So all these big straights, this car is gaining. But when I went to Okayama, that track needs a lot of downforce, a lot of corners. The only straight is not as big. The time was almost the same between Super Formula Lights and this car. I'm sure that with open setups and when we start to understand this car better, it will be faster than Super Formula Lights, but for the moment, it's gonna be very close on twisty tracks where you need a lot of downforce. It's gonna be close, but if you have a track with quite big straights, this car is gonna be the king. Now, if you compare it with F3, this car is gonna be faster on any track. Once again, it's almost comparable in the corners with F3, but much faster on the straights. And if you compare it with SF23, well, it's gonna be slower than SF23, that's for sure. Oh, and you also have the push to pass button, which significantly increases the top speed. So I'm going to show you in a moment. you can use it only for 15 seconds, and it's important to note that if you drop the throttle even for a little, it will automatically stop and you can't use it again. This is quite technical. It's gonna give you an edge in terms of strategy, but it comes with this caveat to it. So I think all in all, this is a good thing to have. I really love being able to play with the tactic while racing, so this is gonna be something nice, gives a little bit more depth. So for now we have 260, and now I'm triggering the push to pass, and we're going around 267, 268. So close to, 16 kph, which adds up. It's definitely something that you're noticing. And speaking of it, notice this oversteer on throttle. It's something that this car is notorious with. Like, you will have less grip in the mid-corner phase due to losing a lot of downforce, and this car doesn't have too much downforce. So when you're relying on mechanical grip, if you're smashing the throttle on the exit of some corners or using the throttle on the curbs, you will spin, that's for sure. So it's definitely a car harder to drive than Super Formula Lights. Is it harder to drive than F3? I think it's quite close. F3 is not an easy car to drive, but I think this car is close, but a little bit harder. Let's be honest. A lot more power. It feels like a lot less downforce, at least when you get to the mid-corner phase. So this car will be definitely a tricky one. Now, should you buy it? It's gonna depend. My prediction is that this car will be really fun just to drive it around. To race it, it's gonna depend, because this is a fast car. So racing in fast cars, it's not gonna be close racing. If you want close racing, F4 will be the king. F4, F3, you can really stay close with those cars. But once you get to faster cars, faster top speed cars, this one, SF23, the racing starts to become more like hot lapping in some cases. It's interesting to see the effects of dirty air. I think the effects of dirty air will be quite significant on this car, because it already loses a lot of downforce when braking and going in the corner. So all in all, I think the racing might not be as close or as tight as in those lower formulas, but it can compensate with the feeling of driving this car, getting the challenge and having the push to pass, the element of strategy, and all in all being a new car. So I think the next season this car will be quite popular. It's gonna be, I believe, my main car. I'm gonna be racing this one, but it's hard to recommend it, because some people like and really like being able to follow closely, being able to stay with the pack, making sure that the leader just doesn't vanish in the first 1 or 2 laps, and then it's a hot lapping competition. So it's gonna depend on your taste. This car is not for everyone, because if you're really used with Super Formula Lights and you think that SFL it's like the perfect open wheel, it has a lot of downforce, it's a lot easier, then you will find this car a little bit too difficult and maybe not as rewarding. But if you want to take on the challenge and you enjoy driving cars that rely more on mechanical grip in that mid-corner phase, then this car will be just right for you. So all in all, these are my impressions, my predictions, and we will see in the weeks and months to come if this car will be, in Greg's words, the car to drive in C safety rating license. I hope it will, because, new car, new beginnings, it's always exciting. But if it doesn't, then it's gonna be a pretty harsh situation where the player base will be split once again, and we will see drivers in F3, F4, Super Formula Lights, and this one all competing at the same hours, which might lead to, splits that are not as balanced. But let's not think about the negatives, because this car has potential, and time will tell if it will be as good as iRacing wants it to be. Thanks for watching, thanks for sticking around, by the way. If you found any of this helpful, use the like and subscribe button, and I'm gonna see you in the next one. Bye bye.